Hi guys, welcome to the Improvement Season podcast. It is me, Steve Hall, naked in all my, I actually have a tan. This is me tanned, but I think all the lights on me, these are like white lights, so I look really pale here.
Oh boy.
I'm actually got a killer tan.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's me, Steve Hall, the ghost, and sorry for being so naked. I just recently trained and had a really stressful business meeting, so I'm very hot. And it's very warm in the UK, so yeah. We haven't got a heat wave today, though, so I don't really have a good excuse.
Actually, here today, there was a heat warning in Brandenburg where I'm living.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird, but because I was outside doing my early morning walk, and it was already boiling hot, and I was just like, where did that come from? Didn't really expect that. And right now, then, for the second walk that I did here, I was just going back onto my treadmill and just getting my steps in there. It's perfect to have a small treadmill at home.
I can definitely see that. It tempts me, but I think then I'd be lazy not walking Ada, and then that'd be bad.
Have you seen? I'm not following him. What was he called again? Mike O'Hearn. He has a husky, and he, I think, trained him to then walk on a treadmill. Which is perfect because I know that they need at least 3 hours outside on a daily basis. And it just makes complete sense then to let them walk on a treadmill just to exhaust themselves.
I think Ada would literally just be terrified of the treadmill. She's just it's moving? No, I stay away from that. Thankfully, she doesn't need too much walking. And it's good to get out there and get some sunlight, I guess,
That's true.
Now and then. But you get your morning walk.
Yeah. But I mean, for me personally, I'm getting a tan very quickly, and for you, apparently,
it's delighting. I am tanned. It's so delighting.
So for me, it's probably also the lighting. Even though that I look a little bit darker than you, I am actually very, very, very tanned at the moment, just due to the holiday. The sun was shining, and I'm getting so quickly so tan. Not as much anymore, because when I was young, so a kid, I was so fucking tanned. It's unbelievable. Dark. Very dark. As if someone really gave me a spray tan. That's how tanned I was as a kid. Don't know what happened.
I don't think I go that dark. It's kind of like my mustache. It kind of gets to a length and then stops. It's the same with me with tanning. I get to a point and it's just you can have a moderate tan, and that's the best you're getting. Not that I've ever really gone out of my way to get a really good tan, but
it just looks so weird when I'm amongst my family, because everyone is has very white hair, like Swedish people, and blue eyes, very pale, everyone, and I'm just the dude, brown, dark hair, tan very easily, and I just don't fit in. And especially Tony, no one would ever assume that he's my son.
Because I know Hugo's super blonde, blue eyes, very Aryan. So Tony's the same way as he.
Kind of. So he has very white hair. His eyes are more like mine, because my eyes are they look as if they are just brown, but I have plenty of colors in there, green, light brown, dark brown, a little bit of grayish color there as well. And this is something that Tony has as well. And he has, and his skin is getting a little bit more tan than the other guys, but it's still kind of a mixture, a proper mixture between Katie and I. Yeah. And he has my ears, he has my lips, he has my eyes, but the hair is definitely from Katie.
I do like a bit of blonde hair, nice, white blonde hair. That's nice.
It is cute. It is really.
Charlotte literally dyes her hair to be that color, so
really?
Yeah, she's definitely not that blonde normally. But how are things otherwise? You messaged me this morning about your hip hinge. Was it a hip hinge session this morning?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was all right. All right. Ever since the contest prep, I'm not feeling as strong. I don't know why. Maybe it was also then the snowboarding trip afterwards that kind of fucked up my lower extremities. So my right ankle is still bothering me to some extent. It is improving. It's much, much better than kind of 2 months ago, but it is still there, which just goes to show how long an injury like this takes to recover. It's crazy. Yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe it's also just like the weight in itself, right? Because in the past, I've always pushed my body weight up quite quite high. And with this came a lot of strength as well, which I don't really have now. And maybe I'm just expecting too much from me at my current body weight in comparison to what I've moved when I was, I don't know, close to 90 kilograms. I was strong. I was strong. And this is now 13 kilograms lighter. It is a lot of body weight difference, right? That then carries over to then the strength output. But then when you're then using those numbers, I would also say that my form on RDLs and SLDLs is much, much better now than it was in the past, which also then plays into it, that it's not just about like moving a load, but it's about hitting the muscle group. But of course, at times it really gets to your head where it's like, man, have I really gotten that weak? And then you need to remind yourself about, no, actually, you just know how to train appropriately for you and your actual strength levels, and not what it is that you want to be, or to be your strength levels to be at.
No, it makes complete sense, because I could look back at some of my numbers, I don't know how many years ago, probably 5 years ago, and maybe some of them would be higher than they are now for some lifts, maybe, but the technique was just like night and day difference. Like the actual local muscle fatigue that I'm causing, night and day difference. So like you have to take those things into consideration as well. That's progression in its own right for sure.
Yeah.
And remind me, Pascal, you're also, I say also because I'm that type of person as well. I don't get that big DOMs in my hamstrings from like hip hinges. Yeah.
I think that we've talked about it at some point.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. And that's the thing for me. The weird thing is, though, and this is also something that I think that we've discussed in our muscle guide series, when it comes to also the back movements, hamstrings and also my back, they are not the type of soreness where whenever you're taking a step, you're just like massively sore every single time. But when you start to flex them and really focus on that muscle group, you can you can feel that they are tender. So for example, with my back, I've trained them, like 2 days ago. And when I'm just sitting here, it's absolutely all right. When I'm now kind of rounding my shoulders over, I can really feel like, holy shit, it's very tight on my back. And even when I'm poking some kind of places on my back, I can feel that it's actually disrupted. And that's kind of the same when it comes to my hamstrings as well. When if I were to now bend over or so, I would very much assume that I could feel that they are actually appropriately disrupted.
Yeah, it's just not. I kind of get it because a lot of my clients, I think the same with you. Some of they get like crazy soreness after they do hip hinges for like a couple of days, and I have that like now and then. It kind of comes out of nowhere where I get that, but most of the time it's like you said. Like I can feel I've trained them when I like go to use that muscle, but it's nothing that's like a tender to the touch. Like I might more regularly get in my chest and quads maybe, but actually. At least, well, right now I'm mini cutting, so soreness is not huge because of the type of training you're doing. And it's just, it does seem to be that when you're in a deficit, soreness isn't something you as regularly get for whatever reason that is. I know kind of Mike's spoken about that before, and I don't understand the biology and the in-depth stuff behind that. But yeah, I certainly, haven't been getting that much soreness recently.
How long do you have to go?
So, good question. Because we've been talking about me and Charlotte want to go away in September, the end of September. And then also as a team, we want to do our weekend away, which hasn't been kind of finalized or anything. So I'm trying to align, and also Charlotte wants to go away for a weekend at some point as well. So I'm trying to be like, do I need to strategically push this a week longer, or can I end it here? And also, if I end it this week, which would be 3 weeks, I don't think I need a full week deload because I just don't feel very fatigued from a training perspective, but I probably do need some days. So I'm like, I probably should just not stress about trying to line it up perfectly and just end it this week, take like half a week deload and just get into a new mesocycle. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing, because actually I was going to send you some photos that I just took post-workout today, and I was like, hot damn, Steve, like things have come in
really
pretty quickly. Yeah, like
cool.
my the bloat that I had in my stomach and just my waist has come in quite a lot. I can actually like do a semi vacuum. I actually really need to practice vacuuming because I think it'll make a big difference for some of my shots. But I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing, like some big improvements, and I feel so much better. And my hunger is picking up a little bit. Like I have an appetite now, so that's nice. But,
so it did everything that you were hoping for. So from a motivational perspective, because you had your doubts, you've been questioning yourself and your own approach, and then also from a hunger perspective, resetting you and resensitizing you. So it did everything that you were hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, from a well-being perspective, from how I feel, like it's been perfect, and I feel, and my like appetite has picked up again. Like I was eating, mushrooms yesterday with like nothing on them, just like cooked, roasted,
just to get a high.
Just to get a high.
Not that type of mushroom.
No, just normal mushrooms, and they tasted good. I was like, "Oh, have you put seasoning on these, Charlotte?" And she was like, "No, they're just plain roasted." I was like, all right, my appetite's moving in the right direction. That's good. So, but I'm also not in the position where I think this is when people take mini cuts too far, where they're feeling pretty super like fatigued, very hungry, like that. I think a sweet spot for a mini cut is where you've lost a chunk of fat, your appetite and everything's come back up, but you're not feeling trashed, because that's where I think mini cuts can really set back gaining phases, is because rather than it being like a maintenance period, which is just a flat, you're actually dipping down and you have to kind of gather yourself back up. Whereas like, I know as soon as I come out of this and get more food in, replenish glycogen, I'm going to be back like hitting new PRs. I'm not losing strength during this phase. My appetite is in a good position. I'm not super starving. So yeah, I think 3 weeks will be the sweet spot for me, where I've just lost I'll have lost close to 10 pounds during that period of time. Like it's just come off super quick. And yeah, it's like you said, it's done everything I wanted to. And it's great because it's another learning experience for me, where like I know I almost had to push my mass too far to the point where I felt that bad to then, but not keep pushing through it, which I have done in the past. So I've kind of found that sweet spot for me now, which is a nice learning.
No, that's absolutely amazing to hear, honestly. So also just from that perspective, because you were afraid to actually openly talk about it because you didn't really want to sound like a hypocrite when it comes to this. And in the end, it has proven that your experience once again paid off when it comes to this. And it's not just like an irrational decision or emotional decision of like, oh, I want to now be leaner or so, but you did it for a specific purpose to hopefully benefit from that decision and not just like setting yourself back.
Yeah, I think it's just another reminder to be confident in my methods, because I'm just that sort of person that always has self-doubt, always is critical of what I do. Well, for clients, I'm very confident, very comfortable with what I'm doing, but sometimes, and it's also a reminder maybe that sometimes like, and I think this is further reminded me that during a contest prep, next time I do go down, I think I want to have a coach in my corner. It's just figuring out who that coach will specifically be, because I think I just don't want that. Like if I do this much in my off season, you think what I'm like when I'm dieting down to stage, like I just end up questioning things too much. So
it's funny because I have the feeling that the more experienced you are, the more people then tend to actually get a coach.
Yeah, it does often happen.
It's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah,
you know, people think of themselves like highly and think that they know so much and that they can probably handle it. And then they have maybe even a successful outcome for their first show, but it could have been perhaps even better as well. But then over the years, competing for a couple of times, they realize like, no, having actually someone taking care of that allows me to really just focus on getting lean and getting the job done, instead of then also tinkering on your training and making the right decision yourself. And I have the feeling that this is something that you most typically see with more experienced competitors, or at least more experienced lifters. And then early beginners and early intermediates who probably could benefit from the most are often not really 100% convinced of the benefits of a coach.
Yeah, I think you kind of benefit from it for different reasons at those stages. Like at the start, when you're a beginner intermediate, you just fundamentally aren't doing a lot of things correctly. Whereas once you're very advanced, like at our stage, we're doing so much right, but it's the small things, and we know so much that you can start having self-doubt and questioning things, and it can become stressful. So you almost do it from like not an accountability, but having someone in your corner that's just like, yes, you're on track. Like just to settle your mind and keep stress down. And I mean, stress in a contest prep, like talking to Alberto yesterday about his approach to stage and his nutritional approach. I'm not sure it would ever work for me, that style. After I was so many questions afterwards, I was like, I wish I asked that. I wish I asked that. There's so many things that just cropped up into my mind after that chat. But ultimately, he's doing that because it's so low stress for him. And I'm like, I'm a relatively high anxiety, stressful individual. And so I think just having someone to take a level of stress away from me can only benefit my physique. The only downside would be if, and I'd hope this wouldn't happen, but I could see having a coach could be stressful for some people if they are that bad at letting go of the reins. So, or they pick the wrong coach who they don't trust. And that wouldn't happen because obviously people that I would want to work with would be collaborative, which is what it was with Brett. Like, he wasn't my coach as such, but we certainly worked quite closely together at times. And it very may well be Brett that I end up just being like, dude, take the reins from like the start of prep. I'll set myself up for it. Now
I think there also needs to be somewhat of a minimum level of maturity in you being able to outsource it to someone else, and just letting go of then you wanting to still steer the steering wheel, basically, or take over the steering wheel. And I think that it requires just a certain level of maturity, which I've been thinking about more and more so with my time with Jeff, for example. I think that now, looking back in hindsight, and I've even said it in one of the other episodes, the older I grow, the more I've been doing this for, the more I appreciate like Jeff's experience, knowledge, and also takes, because I'm learning more and more to understand what it is that he was always and has always been saying. But in the past, I only understood the words, but not the meaning behind it. And I'm more and more learning to understand the meaning behind those words as well. And that's why that also made me reflect upon the time together with Jeff. It wasn't that he wasn't the right coach for me. I wasn't the right client for him. You know, I wasn't ready to be coached by someone like Jeff, from a maturity perspective, from the knowledge and experience that I had under my belt. I wasn't ready to be coached. And I think it's super important to realize that, instead of blaming then the coach that he didn't, or he wasn't able to coach me. No, I was the one actually being uncoachable during that time frame. At least I picked the wrong coach, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, once again, I just come more and more to the realization that this then gives me also some learning lessons about myself, but also then about people who perhaps approach us, or in particularly me as a coach, that if you have perhaps an unsuccessful period with an athlete, of course, it could be that you didn't really have the answers, or you weren't really the problem solver that was suited for the job and task. But sometimes it's also the other way around, and then you are just beating yourself up about something that you couldn't have changed or impacted because perhaps the athlete wasn't really ready for it. And this is also something that I want to communicate to Jeff at some point, where it's like, hey, Jeff, sorry for the time back then. We didn't really, so it was still an all right time. But at some point, I canceled then the coaching service without any kind of, I didn't ghost him or anything like it. So everything was all right. But I stopped because I was convinced that I can do it on my own, you know. And I just want to apologize, or I feel the need to apologize to him at some point, and then just letting him know that it wasn't him, but actually I realized that I was not ready to be coached.
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service that will take your physique and knowledge to the next level. If you're interested, check the description and sign up.
I think that, like you said, it takes maturity to realize that. And I also know what you mean with some clients where you can feel that, like that kind of barrier, like you don't feel like you've got full, not control of them, but you haven't got full trust and acceptance in them. And I have had clients where like they might drop after the first 3 months, like they just are like, it's not for me. And it's frustrating. And you can kind of feel them starting to like, not ghost you, but they're not checking in as well. And they're kind of like, you can feel like you're losing any sort of hold with them and you're not really working with them. They've got you there, but you're not really doing anything for them. But I have had it thankfully with clients where it is a case of like they ask shitloads of questions at the start, and eventually like 3 months in, there's way less questions, and you've kind of earned their trust because they're like, they kind of were shit testing you at the start. And that's a nice position to be in as well, because it's hard work at the start, but then it's like, now like the boat is running smooth. And this is why we love our longer term relationships with clients, because you just start knowing like how one another tick, and things run so much more smoothly at that point, and they just get better and better results.
And at the same time, you can always then compare it to something like a proper sexual relationship as well. At first, both parties hold themselves back in what it is that they want to show to the other person, because there are certain things that you are embarrassed about, you don't want to be judged, and all that kind of stuff, right? So you're holding yourself a little bit back. And then over time, though, you are starting to get to know the other person from a completely different side. You start to trust them, they start to trust you, and that kind of trust and having your back and all that kind of stuff, that knowledge is just, I think, so cool about long-term relationships. And it's kind of the same when it comes to then a coaching relationship. If you're opening up, it's probably also then well received from the coach as well, and they can give those things back in return as well.
I'm sorry, I've got a slight smirk on my face, but as soon as you said sexual, all I'm thinking is kinky things. I was like, so I just like to do, like standard, whatever, you move like doggy style, and then you're starting like, how far does it go? But no, like you're completely right. And some people, it takes them a bit longer to open up, for sure. Because I'm like that even in like just general relationships. Once I'm really comfortable with someone, I'm actually quite talkative, and you wouldn't think that I'm like introverted necessarily.
That's also the reason why you're now naked in front of me.
I'm just
super comfortable now. Uncomfortably comfortable.
Uncomfortably. I'm still sat here sweating. This is like how much of a problem this is. Maybe actually I need to wait for summer to go, then I'll start massing again, because fuck me, it's just too hot. But I'm hoping it's going to cool down soon. But yeah, it takes me a while to warm up to people. Like, and even, it's completely right with Charlotte. Like when she first met me, she thought I was a weirdo. Legitimately, if you ask her, she was like, "I thought you were a bit weird," because I just am not very. I am weird, to be honest. She found out I was even more weird as she kind of learned more about what I am and who I am. But yeah, it took me a while to like warm up and like come out of my shell, because that's what I'm like as a person. But once I feel comfortable with someone, like things run more smoothly. So yeah, it's exactly the same way with the coach. So. I don't know how we got to that chat, but yeah, it's
no idea. Just a quick shout out. I just want to take the moment now to give a quick shout out to Stephen Dexter, who now is working together with me. I love you, buddy. No, that's not what I want to say. I'm very much looking forward to the time together. He is one of those people that we kind of brought up just now. We had a consultation. It clicked. We had already such a good conversation there. And he is that more experienced competitor, but wants to also take it to the next level and want to have someone in their corner as well. And I'm very much looking forward to that relationship, especially when the starting point, so the connection that you had from the get-go already, feels so good, right? Because it's kind of the same also there when it comes to relationships, right? You would never really continue dating someone. We just like think, don't know, it doesn't really click here, right? But when it clicks, then of course, let's hang out together once again. And then over time, you're probably building a relationship.
Yeah, I think that's the great position we're in now, is that people can have followed us for such a long period of time that they've already know that they're going to get on with either one of us in that sense. Like that they're not 100%, of course. You need to have that consultation and stuff. But yeah, thankfully, a lot of the time when we do have a consultation with someone, it is that experience you had with Stephen, where it's just like a complete click, and you don't have to like convince them. You don't even have to tell them the price. They're just like, send me the email and I'll be signing up. And then you start. And
that's also why I've charged him like £1,000.
That's half my rate. So imagine that would be great. One day we'll be charging, inflation. We're going to have to catch up with that somehow.
Probably. It will be that much, but actually it's not a huge buying power anymore.
No.
Purchasing power.
So yeah, you had your holiday.
Yeah.
Let's reflect upon how your holiday was. It's probably...
I've even said it in one of our voice messages already, and I don't want to brag about it, but I think that every parent can probably relate to that. Holidays with perhaps one kid is still all right, but with two small kids, it's kind of more like work. You are there to entertain the kids and also to look over them for like 24/7, that they are safe, that they are doing the things that they are supposed to be doing and all that kind of stuff. So you're basically exchanging your office, your desk, with then I wanted to say kind of just like a trolley or so, but that's not true anymore. They are already a little bit bigger, but with kind of a spoon, for just that time frame. Yeah, it was exhausting. It was very much exhausting. And I needed some time to get into the proper mindset, which sounds weird because there will probably be people out there who are always kind of looking forward to the holiday, relaxing, spending time with others and all that kind of stuff. But I have a hard time switching off from work at times. There are times where I can do it a little bit better than other times, where it's like, I don't know, I may have finished everything that I wanted to finish and there aren't really any kind of projects that I want to continue working on. But right now, there's so much going on for us in the background that I had more like the feeling that it's kind of interfering with what it is that I want to focus on right now. And now I needed to actually then relax, and I needed to actually sit down, and I needed to actually then go to the dinosaur park and all of that kind of stuff, So I needed a little bit of time, first couple of days, to get into the kind of groove of it. I was also still then recovering from kind of the fever episodes, and I was building up somewhat of another sickness right now, coughing and all that kind of stuff, which probably also made things worse of the way that I felt. I felt very lethargic throughout especially like first couple of days, perhaps also because I didn't really have my coffee machine with me, which doesn't really help. And I was very much craving like good espressos. And yeah, it took me a couple of days. And then after a while, I think it got better. And then I came back, and then it's just back to normal. So I didn't really feel like relaxing. Didn't really feel like holiday, to be honest. Sometimes I wonder, so I never really hold back in saying these things out loudly and communicating these things. You know this, right? And some people may agree or may be able to relate to that. And some people think like, what is fucking wrong with him? He was able to spend quality time with his family. And I appreciate that. I acknowledge that. But at the same time, I can't help it. This is just like how I perceive things. And sometimes I'm then thinking like, can I even say it out loudly? Don't know.
But you've said it then. You don't have more to say.
No, I said it.
Okay, that it didn't seem too bad. I'd always tell you or you'd probably tell in my response if I was like, that sounds like too much. But I can relate to it, not because I have kids, but because I was with my nieces. Whenever I'm with my nieces and nephews, like I think I said to you on a WhatsApp message, like they just come and like attack me and want to play with me the whole time. And like just spending a few hours with them, let alone a week, like with your kids, I can imagine that being hard. And then I don't even have to pay attention to like, what are they eating? What the fuck are they doing all the time? It's just playing with them. So that's exhausting just for me. So I can imagine, I can't imagine how exhausting it is. And I did kid camp once. I had looked after loads of kids when I was like 17 years old. Yeah. So
I mean,
tiring.
Once again, there are times that I very much appreciated, and I loved it, spending them the time also with, of course, my kids. And it got better when when we actually became a little bit more active. I am someone who can't just sit at the beach, or I have a very, very hard time when things are moving slowly. I know that this is my problem, and it's not fair to then make it to the problem of others. But this is just me. When, I don't know, taking a stroll down the beach, right? And you're just like walking at the pace of a snail. It's just not for me. For me, it's just like, come on, let's get going. Let's go over to, I don't know, the next station or so. And when it comes to activity, once we picked up a little bit more activity, this was way more my thing of like, I don't know, jumping on the bicycle and then riding down the coastline to then, I don't know, just like the next smaller coffee place or so, right? A longer distance bicycle ride. that was way more my thing. And I could feel that my mood was actually elevated and increased. And I think that this is even something that you've brought up in one of the presentations of the London Seminar 2020. Yeah, 2020, 2022, 2020, right? That there was this one woman who then just needed to stay active. And I don't think that I'm that extreme. I can also appreciate just like spending time, I don't know, on the couch and watching some anime. But I have just a harder time just like taking things slowly. And I can very much relate then to that woman of just like, even at the airport, just needing to actually then keep on walking and doing something.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but she'd done like multiple triathlons or something, or Ironmans, and she was being interviewed by David Epstein, I think was the guy who was interviewing her, and he was like, she had to be like walking at a fast pace around the airport because she just couldn't sit still, because she just couldn't. And it's the same with like sled dogs. Like they are genetically set up to want to keep moving. Like they don't stay still. Like they are driven and they get I guess it would be, what's the happy feeling? Anyway, that kind of hormone from like moving, and they enjoy that, so they're driven for that. And I think like there's probably a lot of listeners who are the same as us, where they find, I know I went to like a day spa with Charlotte, and I was like, man, I feel worse like after a day of relaxing than like a day of doing something. I just do not like being sat doing nothing. But you really remind me of my dad, and I don't know if this was the same, but whenever we'd be on holiday, my dad would always be like 10 meters in front of us walking. He wouldn't be with us. He'd be like 10 meters ahead walking.
That was basically me, honestly.
I'm always like, fuck's sake, Dad, why are you doing this? Because he always wants to be doing stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring up the sled dogs, because I felt that one time I felt like a sled dog, because we rented 2 bicycles, and Hugo, his stamina is complete garbage. He has no stamina at all. Tony, he's 3 years younger, has more stamina than Hugo.
Oh no!
But for a longer bike ride, it's impossible then to also have Tony on, because he can't really ride a bicycle yet. It's impossible to then transport him in any other way. So what it is that we ended up doing is that we rented out 2 bikes with one kind of, what is it called? Cargo?
A trailer?
Trailer, exactly. A trailer in the background. And Hugo is a very, very large, so not big, like in the sense of like weighing much, but a large child already for the age of 6. Like you could easily think that he's already 7 or 8 years old. That's how tall he is. And the rental service even said like, he can't sit in that trailer. He's way too big, right? But then we managed to make it happen. And I was driving them with both of the kids in the trailer behind me with those rental bikes, which weren't really the best rental bikes, just like over the entire island. And I felt like a sled dog basically, but it kind of gave me happiness in return of just like exhausting myself.
Yeah, no, I completely see that. So yeah, next holiday, you just need to be more, find more activities to do. And it's always probably going to be this way though for you, I think, with the family holidays, until maybe they're a bit older and you can leave them a bit more to do their own thing.
The thing is, the last holiday was the snowboarding holiday, and that was one of the best holidays of my entire life, but also probably because it was kind of an activity holiday where I was just able to exhaust myself each and every single day. And if I don't have the compensation of like resistance training, I feel like that I have, even though when I'm, I don't know, tired, because I was, right? I still feel like I have plenty of energy. Does that make sense, Steve? You're feeling kind of tired, but at the same time you have that additional energy because the body, I don't know how to explain it, but probably
you kind of feel more energetic once you start doing something.
Yeah.
Kind of how you felt. Yeah. Like you feel tired, but then when you start doing things, you're like, oh, actually, I can. Like, I actually feel better now. I start doing this. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And of course, it's not just about now talking about my holiday and us riding the bicycle. I think that it's important then to bring it back to kind of also take away lessons for people. And I would very much assume that many people listening to this podcast may find one or two things that I've talked about where they have found themselves in the past, or maybe even in the future. And hopefully that there are some kind of takeaways. Now, of course, you don't want to just like do your own thing. I think that's not that healthy. And I could feel that it built up some pressure, especially in the first couple of days. And I don't really want to give Katie the feeling that it's once again a shitty holiday or something like this, because that could always be the case, right? When you give others the feeling that actually you don't really want to be there because you enjoy other things. And I couldn't really help it. And especially in the first initial days, I felt, due to feeling tired and due to that inactivity and due to that transition from working and knowing that there is work waiting for me that I would prefer to be doing, I couldn't help it but letting it show, and that's not a cool thing. That's really not a cool thing. But at the same time, I see it once again, over and over again, of course, also with working with athletes, that one common, not just phenomenon, but thing that many people are saying, especially the ones who are very dedicated and very much that robot style, is that they want to be more social again, that they don't always just want to focus on the task at hand and what it is that they do. And I'm always thinking, what is wrong with that? I can find some societal justifications, so societal norms or justifications that people are normally and typically saying, but I don't know whether I really truly stand behind it. You know what I mean? There are just certain things in your life that it's just you don't speak out loudly, for example, whether you feel that way or not. And there are also certain things that you think that people want to hear, and that's why you say them. And here it is once again. I'm just thinking, like, what is wrong of just being the person you are? That doesn't mean that you can't change and you can't reflect. I think it's very important to be to self-reflect upon situations, and perhaps also try to take care and watch out and look out for people you love and you care about. But in a situation like this, if you constantly just do the things to please others, is that then really living a good life?
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
Yeah, I think it's what it made me think of immediately as a comparison was like in contest prep. Like you might be feeling dog shit and blah, blah, blah. But you don't put that onto your partner, for example, and you don't put all your mood and hate and like disgust, whatever it is, like the way you feel in prep at various times, because you're choosing to do it. So it's like you kind of keep it to yourself. And it kind of reminded me of that in some ways, where it's like you might be feeling this way, but you don't want to put your feelings onto someone else. And I completely agree. You can't be selfless all the time. You've got to sometimes be selfish, but I guess it's in a relationship, you have to kind of have give and take a little bit. So like, I don't know, with Charlotte, I don't want to always eat vegan food, like when we have it. And Charlotte wants me to always be eating vegan food and enjoy it and like I love it, but I can't honestly tell her that I'm always wanting to do it. But I'm like, I do it, and I'm not necessarily doing it for her, because it always comes back to me. Because if she enjoys it, that I'm getting involved and I'm having that food with her, then she's in a better mood and she's happier, and that makes me happy. So ultimately, I'm not actually doing it for her, because if I say I'm doing it for her, but then I get all that good feedback back, like she's happy and responsive, then I'm actually doing it for myself. So you could do it sometimes like that, where you might hold some feelings back, which ultimately makes your partner happy or other people around you happy. But then them being happy makes you happier as well. So ultimately, it's like a win-win scenario versus, I don't know, expressing your horrible feelings, and then they feel shitty, so now you feel shitty, and then it's just like, So but you're right, you can't always like hold everything back and just like pander to everyone else's thoughts and feelings, because I've certainly had my periods of doing that, and you just end up feeling trashed, like and shitty as well. Like, so there is a middle ground.
I think that many people try too much pleasing their environment and making other people happy other than themselves. And yes, I think it's kind of also perhaps a little bit of a positive feedback loop, such as you described, so that when you make someone else happy, you probably also feel better. It's just also their human nature of just belonging, getting the appreciation of your peers and all that kind of stuff. But just basing everything around this, I think will not result in just the most happy person that you can be. Especially if you have interests, if you have hobbies, if you have some kind of aspirations that you are following that you need to do in order to pursue happiness. You can't just like put all of your eggs in one basket, and that is trying to make other people happy or please others. I think it's super important that sometimes it's then, or not just sometimes, it's all right to accept the person that you are with the flaws, but also your interests, taking care of them, spending time there, and then having somewhat of a time available then for other things as well. But I think it's important then to also acknowledge that it's all right that you don't always have to say yes to then social events or social occasions, and also if it doesn't really if it doesn't really align with what it is that you want to do, also there it's all right to say no and just do your thing. And if the other person sees this as a reason to actually start a fight, then communicate and have a discussion about it of like, hey, I just don't want to right now. Maybe it is something that you very much love and appreciate, but right now it's just not me. And we can easily probably find a compromise here, or times where I'm then able or willing to do those things, such as your example with them with vegan food. But don't expect from me to always say yes whenever it's expected from me. And I think it's important for people to think about it a little bit more so and reflect upon it. And I'm doing a lot of self-reflection when it comes to those situations, because you are in an inner battle between pleasing yourself, not in a physical sense, of course, but pleasing yourself, the things that where you see yourself of in terms of your aspirations and all, but also then pleasing the other people around you in order then also there to kind of please yourself in return probably as well.
I think the point you made regarding communication, that's the key thing, because I've certainly had it where, again, I've been that people pleaser, but then I have this build up of just annoyance that just builds up in me. And exactly. Eventually, like, I resent that person for what they're doing, but they have no idea maybe that that's happening or what have you. So then if you at least tell them, then they might be like, oh, right, I see what you're saying. Like, let's find a middle ground here that kind of works for us both. Or it's the same with when I recovered from my accident, for example, with alcohol. Like, a lot of my friends still were pressuring me to have alcohol, and I was like, maybe I should have alcohol, like, to be part of it, because like people drink our age, like it's something I should do. Every single time when it was a late night, I'd had some drinks, the next day I always was like, why did I do that? And I certainly have had clients where they're like, I don't really enjoy drinking. It keeps happening, and I do it with friends. And I'm like, what? Like, if it doesn't make you happy, why are you doing it? Just because it's like you said, a societal norm. And that's what I felt. But as I transitioned and I started leaving things earlier and I started not drinking, and I just found I was like, wow, I get every bit of what I enjoy from this event without the negatives. And I'm not taking away from anyone else's experience by doing that. Like, they don't even remember like the other half of the night or whatever. They're out there drinking past like midnight, whereas I get all the like what I want from it, and so does everyone else in that scenario. So yeah, that communication piece and just realizing what actually makes you happy, rather than looking at social media or societal norms and being like, oh, that makes that person happy, so it should make me happy. But if it doesn't, then don't worry about it. Like, we both get a lot of happiness, like actually just sitting, watching anime versus like going out for, don't know, drinks, whatever. Yeah. It's like, if I had a mate here, if we had one another to go and sit and watch anime, we'd prefer doing that versus going out with like a big group of people and going boozing, what have you. So, and that's just what we're like different people are different.
Exactly. And it's very, very hard then at times, because different people are different in terms of also then their perception of what you can expect from the other as well. Sometimes, of course, you then think like, hey, man, it's important to me. Come on, let's do this. If the other person doesn't want to, is it then all right to then force them to do something when in reality it's just for selfish reasons? I also don't think that this is all right then as well. But yeah, it is kind of a complicated matter, I think, to make the right call and right decision, because it's kind of you're balancing on a fine line or fine rope here, I think, of like, once again, doing everything that you possibly can to make your loved ones happy, while at the same time not neglecting yourself and the things that make you happy from an intrinsic perspective of the things that just is you, right? You, and just focusing on yourself. And that is something that I've once again realized here with this holiday as well. And during those moments, of course, I'm thinking a lot about also then terrible thoughts as well at the same time. And I think it's not important, but it's just also there what it is. And I think that this is my way of considering all of the potential consequences of my own behavior and the situations and all that kind of stuff. And it just helps me then dealing with the situation.
I'll tell you something. Actually, I don't know if I should say this. It was when you said terrible thoughts. Okay, the human brain is fucked up. Yeah. I think we all have these really weird thoughts, because the thought of just, this is a terrible thought that I've had, but I think I can just about justifiably say it. Ada, for example, I love her to bits. I am distraught at the thought of her dying, and I've had moments in my thought where I'm like, man, if I just stood on her now, she would die. Completely fucked up thoughts. I'm like, why the fuck am I thinking that? It's so freaky. It's just wrong. Or when we had our balcony and I was like, oh, I have her in my hands, I could just throw her over the balcony and what would happen? She'd fucking fall and die. Or I'll jump over the balcony with her. You have weird fucked up thoughts. But I had this horrible thought where I was like, Ada ties us down a lot. Yeah. And actually, when she does pass away, we'll be more free and maybe we can do more things and travel. And that'd be a nice time not to have a dog for a period of time. And I think that's reasonable, but it's also really, it feels fucked up, because I'm like, I don't want her to go away, but there are pros also to not having a dog that lets us not have those ties. It's like, you want your kids maybe here now, but once they grow up and they leave the nest, you're like, oh, now I have more free time to do stuff I want to do again. So I don't know.
No, absolutely. It's funny because those are the things, for example, I brought up just a couple of minutes ago, that people just don't say out loudly. And I think that everyone has kind of those very fucked up thoughts where it's just like, holy shit, just thinking that makes me kind of chuckle about my own thoughts and what it is that I'm just like, brain, shut up. What the fuck is wrong with you? Because I had those moments as well. I do still remember, I think that this was one of the most extreme thoughts that I ever had, that when I was working at one of those post-production companies, I fucking hated my my boss and my kind of, what's it called when there are small kind of fields in a company, like my department. I hated the boss, and I had thoughts of killing him, and it's just like, what a fucked up thought that is, and so I think that the difference between that acting on it and not acting on it is just that kind of human thing, and I think that many people had at least probably in their life once or twice had that thought of fucking hell, and that thought came to my mind a couple of times because I despised him so much, right? But I never acted on it. So he's still alive with a couple of kids now. So, but the human brain can be quite fucked up, to be honest.
I don't think I've got anything else to really update on my end. I don't know. I feel like there's nothing to close on here.
Mm-hmm. Silence.
I think, that's what I was going to say. I had a training session with Jason from JPS. Shout out to Jason from JPS. He's a Jacob's client, and he's competing in Classic. They have,
and now he's yours.
No. They have Classic divisions over in Australia. I suppose we do in quite a few of our natural federations now. They have Classic divisions. Seeing him pose and go through things, we went through some posing upstairs at Yorkies, and I was like, and it's literally what I did today. I went through some posing, I put my posing trunks on, and you did mention at the start, you're getting the itch to compete. Yeah. And it's funny how you do get that like itch come in now and then, especially when fat loss phase, like that's when it kicks in a little bit. I'm just like, ooh, okay. But no, I know I need the time away, and it was great. Actually, that's what I saw from Alberto Nunez. He just did a post where I think he was like 34 and then 39, and he's heavier, 39, and looked maybe leaner as well. And I was just like, man, if Alberto can make that kind of progress from 34 to 39, like the amount of progress we can both still make is just like, there should be something there. Not that you can compare yourself to everyone else, because everyone's different in that sense. But yeah, just kind of was a good post and made me like, yeah, I need to continue to take some time, because maybe I can add enough meat to this frame that it looks somewhat like has some sense of symmetry.
I'm confident that you can. I'm very confident. If you just consider, and this is something that I've mentioned so often already, the prior season to the last season, and how much meat and chunk you've put on, it was impressive. And I think that this just gave you a lot of learning experience, and this is knowledge that you now can further extend on and apply then when it comes to putting on some muscle mass. So I see no reason as to why you shouldn't progress as much as you did like last time. Of course, not from you will put on linear amounts or even more amounts of muscle mass, but relatively speaking to then the training age.
And he actually brought up kind of the mindset, and I think that's the only mindset to have. There's no point thinking that you're not going to, or thinking, and that's where the old, like, don't think you're only going to gain a pound of muscle once you're advanced, like, because that's just a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. And it always brings me back to, and it's a shame, I'm currently making my way through Naruto Shippuden, and it's a shame Naruto doesn't really say it in Shippuden like he does in the original. Believe it, like he constantly says, like, believe it. And I had that in my presentation as well. And it's something that I love that anime has these like lessons and teachings like strung throughout it. It's so powerful, and I relate to it so strongly with some of the characters there. So I don't know if I will, but Naruto's right up there for me next to Dragon Ball now, and I need to continue watching more anime because I'm sure there's even better ones. But I just love the storyline so far. It's like incredible.
Yeah, it is. And considering though so I always said that Dragon Ball, especially like Dragon Ball Super, is way overrated. I actually very much don't like Dragon Ball Super, to be honest, especially when I'm just taking a look at the latest trailer of the new movie. I just think like, what the fuck is this? Like beast mode? What the fuck? And all that CGI fucking shit?
I haven't seen Beast Mode.
Oh, come on, give me a break. Fucking
Ultra Ego is cool as fuck, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I mean, at some point you have to. So when there's a German saying like, auch ein blindes Huhn. No, I can't even say it. Auch ein blindes Huhn findet ein Korn. So also a blind chicken finds kind of corn, something like this.
Right.
And at some point, if you're just like creating enough, at some point you will have success, probably, right? Anyway, what I want to say is Dragon Ball was one of the kind of up and coming things in the early days, and one of the original ones. They've invented so much or gave so much to the scene as well. But of course, after that, new enemies can build upon this. And probably chances are that newer enemies, there is then one or two that then can build upon that success and also create an even better storyline and such. That's why having just that nostalgia when it comes to Dragon Ball, for example, or other things, also movies, is never really a good thing, because in the future, perhaps there can be better things as well. And I think that in anime, it's just like normal, right? I think that there are plenty of animes that are much, much better. And I think even that Naruto is much better than Dragon Ball, mostly like from an average perspective on a episode and also seasonal basis. Whereas then Dragon Ball Z, it's more like nostalgia, and also the early Dragon Ball Z things are just like fucking cool. Yeah. And then everything now with Super and stuff, I mean, don't even get me started. Come on.
I think it's the lifters and everything, because we're lifters and they're fucking jacked as fuck, and they do like the eating, the training, the Saiyans.
That's true.
I think that's what gets a lot of us lot at least. Whereas
That's
Naruto,
true.
like they're fucking ninjas and skinny and
It's pretty cool
it's
though
cool.
as well.
It's very cool. But they're like more like CrossFitters versus actually CrossFitters are jacked as fuck. So I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. I just funny enough because Tony, I'm kind of priming him to some extent right now. I'm always watching, or I'm always showing him kind of Ronnie Coleman videos. I'm not even kidding. Like, yeah, buddy,
Lightweight, baby.
yeah, yeah, baby, yeah, buddy. And also, then he wanted to see people like lifting heavy stuff. He likes that. Like, and then I was just showing to him like strongmen, how they were kind of lifting cars and pulling trucks and pulling planes even. Absolute fucked up shit, right?
Yeah.
And he's always then saying like, hey, yeah, muscle man, papa. So muscle man.
That. Yeah.
And this is the way that you can then sneak in things, and perhaps then at some point you can then also then show them something like Dragon Ball Z. But what I wanted to say is at some point I was then also taking a look at the kind of recent, so not this weekend is also the new CrossFit Games, but CrossFit Games from last year. And as you may recall, them back in 2014 to 16, I was actually working in a CrossFit box, and the amount of muscle mass the athletes now carry has completely changed. It's kind of like you can compare it to something like men's physique and also bikini athletes when they were up and coming. At the beginning, it was just like, it's no comparison to what it is now. And now CrossFit athletes, women, same as men, are just like way more muscular, especially the women. The women are just like, holy shit, what is going on here?
They are stacked and like 6-pack abs, like huge delts, just like ridiculous, actually crazy physiques. But I imagine PEDs are now completely fraught within CrossFit.
Everything's nutty. Everything's nutty.
I properly took you serious until you said everything's nutty. Oh dear. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, that's good. It's like marketing, like slowly, like you see, like, I don't know, you see a billboard with a, I don't know, Porsche on, and you see like, you get Spotify adverts with Porsches.
But to be honest, and no offense for strongman, but I don't really want Tony to become a strongman.
It's probably not the healthiest option.
Yeah, I don't know. So Katie is quite tall, so it could be that he's actually then also getting very tall, which most strongmen are. But just there's kind of a small documentary about I think he's called Obust something over on Vice, where they're just like following him for like one day, and he then went shopping. And it's crazy. He's like spending, I don't know, $400 on a just normal shopping spree, where it's like, this is just like for 1 week of like eggs, meat, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I don't really know. I don't really want my kid to perhaps even become like a PED bodybuilder or so. Don't know.
I was thinking, I mean, just being that size is not super healthy. That's the main concern, I guess. So CrossFit it is, but not without the enhancements, maybe.
Yeah.
And on that note,
sorry guys for the episode. I really still do hope that people enjoyed the. I don't even know what it is that
what's the message?
Yeah,
Believe
exactly.
It. That's the message from Naruto.
Absolutely. But I still hope that there were some takeaways, especially when it comes to us just talking about our experiences in life, right? We are kind of bodybuilders who love doing this, and we have to also then face the normal things in life. And this is, I think, that everyone who's listening to this is also them facing, and perhaps they think like, shit, what am I even doing here? What is it all right to think XYZ, to feel that way? And hopefully that with us sharing our thoughts and just our kind of feelings towards that, it helps. I really just hope that it does. If that does help, then leave a like, leave a subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and leave also a comment in the comment section below. That would help and would be very much appreciated.
I just want to let everyone know Ada is still alive. You see her? lying with her legs up.
Lovely. Perfect.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Steve. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.